You don't like fashion, you like consuming. And there's a big difference between the two. But I'm going to give a disclaimer before we get into the video, because this is not one of those vids where I'm finna sit here and tell you, you need to stop over consuming and go the sustainable route. Like, I don't care, to be honest. You can spend your money however you want to spend it. But I am here to tell you that there's a big difference between the two. So my name is Jadon Grundy. Welcome to the channel. Let's get right into the video. So I have like 10 topics here, which is why you see me with my iPad, and I got this tea just to keep the cozy, calm vibes for today. But I want to get straight into it, bro, because there's a lot to talk about. Now, the first topic that I have is trendy over timeless, which is very important if you're trying to figure out whether you're actually into fashion or you're just a consumer. Now, if you're a consumer, most of the time, you're just going to buy whatever is trendy. Like if something is hot at the moment and you just like to have hot things, you're going to go ahead and purchase something that is trendy. Now, that doesn't mean that on the flip side, if you're into fashion, you can't buy something trendy. You can. Now, where the difference comes into play is your personal taste. So if you buy something that's trendy, but you love it, you're going to make it timeless within your style. You're going to wear that piece every day. You're going to mix and match it within outfits. It's going to last you over 3 years, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's going to be something that's going to end up being a timeless piece in your wardrobe because you think it's timeless. Now, if it's trendy to you, you're going to end up wearing it for a season and then like reselling it or like throwing it out into Goodwill or something like that. Like, you get what I'm trying to say? Like, if you're into fashion, you bought that piece because you really loved it. And if you're just a consumer, you bought it and was like, this isn't hot anymore. Let me just go ahead and get rid of it. You get what I'm trying to say? So that kind of is the first topic that I wanted to get into. The second topic is hype versus quality. Now, how does this relate to whether you're into fashion or not? Now, most of us who are into fashion end up doing a lot of research into the things that we like because we genuinely like them. So we want to know more about it. But if you're kind of just surface level or you're not really into fashion and you just want to consume, half the time you're just going to buy something because it's hype. It don't even matter if the hype piece was made well or not. You're just going to buy it because of the hype. Now, if you're into fashion, like actually, you might go ahead and buy something because it's of quality. Like, you're not really going to care that it was made by Supreme or Off-White. Like, you're actually going to look at it and be like, oh, I really like this leather jacket right here. Where's the highest quality place I can buy this leather jacket? If it happens to be a very well-known brand, then you'll buy it from that well-known brand. But if you know you can get it from somewhere else at a better cost and quality, I guarantee you're going to buy that quality piece if you're actually into fashion. Now, third on my topics is we have the influence of social media. Now, I'm sure y'all have heard this being talked about plenty of times at this point, but social media really influences this overconsumption mentality. Now, are there genuine people who are really into the things that they like and do buy a lot of it? Yes. But a lot of the times we're just seeing people who are maybe paid to promote, maybe just want to run the numbers up, maybe just want to look cool. So they're doing these massive clothing hauls online. Or they're really, really rich and they just can't afford to overconsume. So I think oftentimes when you're consuming content on social media, you'll see people buying a bunch of things. And buying a bunch of things from people who look to seem to be happy, you are going to subconsciously be like, oh, well, maybe I need to buy a bunch of things in order to be happy. And really, that's all you're doing. You're not buying it because you actually want those things, if that makes sense. So that's not to say that people who are into fashion don't overconsume, because I would say that I'm somebody who's into fashion who actually does like to buy the things that I'm into. Now, I try to not overconsume, and fashion content is my job. So oftentimes I'll have maybe more clothing items than the normal person, but it's because that I am genuinely interested in showing it, and I'm genuinely interested in buying it and seeing the differences between all the things that I have. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not just buying it for the sake of buying it and buying it for the sake of having it. I'm buying it because of an interest or to maybe spread information and insight on whether somebody else out there wants to buy that item. Fourth topic, we have status symbols in fashion. Now, a lot of people end up buying clothes and accessories to kind of show their wealth or show their status. So you'll see things like a Rolex, or you'll see somebody buying Balenciaga or whatever it is. It's kind of like the same hype type of thing where it's just like, oh, I was able to afford this because you can't. You know what I'm saying? And if you really deep dive and go around people who are genuinely interested in fashion, oftentimes they're not really flexing a cost. Now, they might flex some knowledge, but they're not really flexing like, oh yeah, I went and I spent $3,000 on this jacket. Like 9 times out of 10, people who are genuinely into fashion are gonna tell you that they got it for a lower price because they went down a rabbit hole and found their favorite item for far less than retail. Like, anybody who has fashion friends, we all are like, yo, how much did you end up getting it for? Yo, I got it for a steal. I got it for such and such amount. Like, we really be doing deep dives because we know how to maneuver in the world of fashion because we're genuinely interested. Now, if you go ask somebody else who isn't into fashion, they're gonna flex their price and be like, yeah, I bought $3,000 for this Rick Owens shoe. Like, you know what I'm saying? When we're all like, yo, did you know that you can just go get that for used over here? Like, you know what I'm saying? So there's a big difference between people who are genuinely interested in the item and people who are just doing it for the status. 5 on the list, the fast fashion trap. Now, I did give the disclaimer and tell you guys how I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money, but fast fashion very much promotes overconsumption, and because it supports people who like things instead of being interested in the actual piece. Now, I'm not saying that to say that if you genuinely like something and you don't have the money and you like the style of it, yes, fast fashion might be the only route you have into purchasing into a style that you want. But what it also does is it promotes people who like to consume but actually don't have the money to consume to just go out and buy a bunch of things because it's cheap. So yeah, that definitely plays a heavy role into whether you're into fashion or not. 6 on the list is we have the disconnection from the fashion history. Everybody don't gotta be a fashion nerd, bro. Like, if you're into fashion, you're into fashion, and if you're not, you're not. I'm not telling you you can't go and just buy something because you thought it looked cool, but I think that there's a big disconnect, especially with trying to obtain so many things, that a lot of times people don't do the research into what they actually like or what they actually want. You know what I'm saying? So I think that when you're not so fascinated with maybe how something is made or what the brand designer's background is, like, oftentimes you won't understand the piece the same. And I think that that is one of the biggest motivators and interest in people who are actually into fashion, and why they might not promote fast fashion, because it's like, yo, did you know how much detail actually went into this garment? This is why I like this piece. Or do you know that, like, this shape of this silhouette was inspired by this piece from 1960? Like, that's why I like the piece. Like, there's so much more of a connection and so much more of a background in people who are genuinely interested in fashion than there are for people who just are consumers. Now, the next topic that I have is actually one that is geared towards designers. And I think that this one is very important because I think we live in a time and space to where everybody wants to be a designer and everybody wants to just make things for the sake of grabbing money. Like, we also see big brands who often do things like collaborating with fast fashion brands or collaborating with other brands that don't make sense just for a money grab. And I think that it really shows us who's actually in it for the actual creation and who's in it to just get some money. Now, I know this is kind of like a flip on the thought of fashion versus consumer, but looking to get the money is kind of consumerist. Like, it's kind of one of those spots to where you don't care about fashion and design. You just want to get the money so you can go consume whatever else. Like the people who are genuinely into fashion, I'm not saying you gotta like make clothes and go broke, but people who are actually into making a brand or into designing something are actually putting the art behind it. And they're not going and copying and pasting every single other thing that's hot. You know what I'm saying? So I think that that was a topic that I put on the list just because it gives some insight about everything that's going on in this like TikTok brand world we got. Now, number 8 is maybe not as relevant as that last topic, but I think the resale market obsession was a big thing that kind of damaged that connection between people who are into fashion and people who are just consumers. So I think the culture of reselling made fashion a hot commodity topic as opposed to what it used to be of just people who were genuinely interested in like self-expression, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think if you actually look at where fashion is at right now, we're kind of seeing a shift in people who aren't really into fashion and we're just doing it because it was like the hot topic to do. Like if you look at the numbers and the eyeballs that are on certain people, it's very much shifted into different things. Like I don't know if that's just the way the internet is going or if it's just the people who were once super popping on YouTube because fashion was the hot topic. You really don't see them no more, bro. They really don't make videos like that. They really don't get the same amount of views because they might have switched topics or something. And we're starting to see that in real time right now on the internet. You feel me? Now getting towards the end, we have wardrobe turnover, and I titled it this because there usually is a cycle between people who are actually into fashion and people who are just consumers. And it looks kind of the same on the surface level, but it has two different motives. So on one side, you have people who are into fashion will recycle clothes in their wardrobe in order to curate their style and what they choose every day. And then you have people who are, I guess, like recycling or reselling their wardrobe or clearing their wardrobe because they bought too many clothes. So I think that there's a big difference in between people who are just like, hey, I bought this piece and it really holds value, but I don't get as much use out of it anymore. Let me go ahead and sell it so I can buy something that I can get more use out of, as opposed to somebody who's like, oh dang, I bought this and like it's not cool anymore. Let me like sell it. You feel me? Now, last on the list is a little personal, so I feel like I had to put it as last, but I think that influencers very much impact a lot that's going on in the fashion space. And I think that there's fake influencers and I think that there's real influencers. And the problem is you can be influenced by both. You just have to choose who you watch correctly, depending on what you like. You might like to just overconsume, or you might actually be into fashion. So I think that there are people who actually overconsume and might have this perception that they have style when really they just are wearing a bunch of hot things. And then there's people who have great style, but they're actually into the clothes that they're wearing. And I just think that it's a very personal topic for me because somebody who's actually into the clothes that they're wearing makes it feel like an overwashed community, to where I will look at other influencers and be like, yo, no way you guys follow this person. It's so clear as day that they don't care about the clothes that they're wearing and they're just promoting you guys to just buy BS. You know what I'm saying? Or even if it's not BS, they're just promoting you guys to just purchase just for the sake of purchasing because they know how to like put an outfit together. And then you got the people who are really, really doing their thing and are really interested in fashion and give you guys good insight. But because their style is so personal to them, it doesn't get all the trendy numbers and the tens of thousands of views that the other person gets. You know what I'm saying? So, but I think that this was overall a very interesting video to make, which is why I made it. So if you guys want to join the conversation, comment down below and let me know your thoughts on any of these topics. And that's pretty much it, man. I'll be back to you guys with more. Peace.